All right, we have got a lot to talk about here today. Welcome back. I am very sorry about very sorry about not making update videos on this thing lately. The last video I did was actually uploaded to Instagram as a live video, and I'm sorry, I just hadn't done the YouTube thing in a little time. But I do have some awesome things to report and bring to you here today. Anybody who's just tuning in, this is my 1992 Nissan Pathfinder pickup truck that's been body swapped, engine swapped, transmission swapped. Yeah, there isn't anything on this thing that I haven't really touched at this moment in time. But you know, anybody that has been following this, that's old news. Let's just get right to the latest greatest here. All right. First off, you'll notice that the Frontier / Xterra power steering pump is now installed. I actually decided to go with that because the fitment and alignment of all the pulleys and everything was just going to be correct. I didn't want to take any chances on having to really mess around with having to change belt sizes and mess around with shimming things. I just figured since this is a VG33ER out of an Xterra, I just went and got the power steering pump out of an Xterra. The hoses work. They're not absolutely perfect. There's this little nub here that's supposed to be in this bracket. I suppose if I really wanted to twist the hose around quite a bit, I could get it to line up, but I didn't want to stress the hose. This is tight and it's not going to leak. So it should be all right once you get it all tightened up. This is a banjo bolt fitting, by the way, and it's the same for a Pathfinder, Xterra, and Frontier in terms of this bolt size. This is the Pathfinder pressure hose, so I didn't change any of the pressure hose because that would involve like removing all this hosing here all the way up to the steering gear itself, and I don't really feel like messing with all that. So that's a Frontier Xterra power steering pump. I went back to the junkyard and got a bracket that does not have a broken off bolt. I figured that it was for $2 for this bracket. It was cheaper than trying to mess around for who knows how long to get that one bolt out. So that's all said and done there. We're all hooked up. We're good to go there. I was at the yard, also came across a water pump pulley. Since I'm running a electric fan on this thing, well, eventually I do have the electric fan, I have the radiator and everything all set aside. I decided to just bolt this without the hub on it and everything, just get new hardware. That's done. So we're gonna have the water pump and power steering pump belts to be absolutely OEM. The alternator belt's also going to be OEM. I do still have to address this broken off bolt. It may be cheaper for me to just go and do the same thing, just get another bracket off another Xterra for a couple bucks at the yard and just go that way, because I see that these brackets are all the same, whether it's a supercharged or not. They all include the bolt holes here for the pulley plate for the blower itself. So all the pulleys are pretty much in place. The plan is for the blower pulley or the blower belt, since I'm not running a compressor, I think what I'm going to do, I hope it's going to work, it seems to work on paper, is that I'm going to have the belt come up. I'm going to switch this pulley to a ribbed pulley and reverse the adjustment. So instead of having the adjustment go down, I'm going to help that it'll take up slack going up. As I said, that's just something that it's a hypothesis that I'll try. If not, then I'll just get a bigger pulley here and just run the belt around that way. But it's going to be, the belt's going to come around here, go down to the crankshaft pulley, back up, backside on this pulley, up and around, and then back down to here. And hopefully that'll work and I won't have to run a compressor, because I'd rather not have an ugly non-functional compressor sitting here. That'll just be much nicer and much cleaner looking to do it that way. The injector harness. I had to remove the blower. There's pictures of it up on Instagram of me doing this. The injector connectors are spliced in. Everything is run. I tried to make it as pretty as possible. As you can see, I tried to go for a OEM look. I used black electrical tape to cover up all my ugliness and everything. Injectors 1, 3, and 5, 2, 4, and 6, all wired in. Also wired in now completely is the knock sensor, which was relocated to the back of the blower. So that's all good. So I was able to get the blower back on, because you will know, anybody who's doing injectors on a ER is going to find that these connectors cannot be put in, cannot be hooked up while the blower is in place. There's just no physical way to get them. They're just too tall. So I took the time to remove the blower, remove the lower pan, get the wiring wrapped around the back of the blower. So the injector harness and everything goes around the back of the blower and comes back up here underneath the blower. And the reason for that is because there is no access like the regular NAs. There's usually a hole right here in the lower manifold where the wiring can pass through and go underneath. That is not possible on the Supercharged model. So I have to go around the back. I think I tidied it up as nice as I could. The only things I have left to address is I have the air regulator connector here. I have to get the throttle position sensor in place. The connector for that is here. I got to cut this open and either replace the connector or find a way to modify the actual VG30 throttle position sensor to work, but I doubt that that's going to be possible. I also have to hook up the brake or gas pedal cable, throttle cable. That's not going to be a big deal or anything like that. And then we're pretty much good to go, other than, oh, two more things. The ignition coil itself needs to be relocated, and there's also the resistor that needs to be relocated. I got two connectors here. Firewall mount, perhaps. I'm not just going to leave them hanging there, but we'll figure it out when that, probably next time around, because I want to make sure that I have this and get it right. In my way is this is the positive crankcase ventilation hose that usually connects right up in here, but I don't want to have oil blowing into this thing, so I went out and I bought a inexpensive catch can from eBay. That's probably going to get mounted somewhere in here where the AC hoses usually would hang out, but no AC, no hoses, catch can perhaps, and probably most likely. Huh, whew. Yeah, what do you guys think so far? It's pretty cool. Other news is I pulled out the remaining studs here from the cylinder head for the exhaust manifolds. The nice part about this is that it actually solved my problem, and I will have to find a light here, which I did set down right here. All right, we got a light. If you look down in there, I test fitted one of the headers. This is one of the exhaust headers that came with the first Pathfinder that I bought that had a VG33 swap already done to it. It was a 1991. It was gold. I called it Gold Digger. It was a piece of garbage. They had jumped the thing. They had rolled it. There wasn't one good piece of sheet metal on it, but it did have a good VG33 that I used for parts. I saved a bunch of it, and then it also had these headers already on it. So I saved those, and with that long stud in place, these headers won't even come remotely close to sitting flush against the head. I just have them held on by one stud and one nut right now. And what you also got to know is that this bolt here that's on the back of the power steering pump, you can't remove or install these headers with that bolt in the way. So all you got to do is just back that off till it's flush with the power steering pump bracket, and then the headers can slide on and off. The other thing I had to do was climb underneath this thing and grind a little bit off of the transmission a little bit for clearance, just because it was getting mighty close. So I took a die grinder, and it's like one of the cooling fins. I just ground off maybe about, you know, a 1/16 of an inch off the thing, and now this thing sits nice and flush. I just have to get the bolts. I used to have bolts. I think I threw them out. I was stupid. But I know the dimensions now, so I just got to find somebody who makes high heat exhaust bolts in these dimensions, length and thread. So that's a good thing. As you can see, the power steering return lines, I went and got some bulk hose, 5/8 and 3/8, and stretched them accordingly to compensate for the body lift that has been placed on this thing. Yeah, that is what I've done since the last time we chatted. So I really apologize that I haven't been present. I've got a lot of things, a lot of projects that I'm stretched across right now. So I'm just trying to get to everything as I possibly can. Oh yeah, another thing, I do have a fuel filter for this thing now. I just got to come up with some fuel hose because you have to compensate for the body lift once again. I have, this hose is actually a metal pipe that goes to an O-ring flange. I saw another video, a guy gave me an idea, and it was cut this pipe off right here, flare it, and then use the original hose that comes off of the fuel filter here to hook up to that flange or that flare and just clamp it rather than try and deal with this crimped hose that Nissan decided to go with. I have a sample in my tool bag here that I'm bringing home with me, and I'm hoping that I can tinker with it this week and figure that out. I also have the exhaust manifold bolt in my pocket, so I know what length I've got to get for that. Man, steps closer, many steps closer. It's crazy. It's really crazy. I am so excited. My goal is to have this thing running within the next few weeks. I would like to take it for a test drive in my buddy Brian's backyard, a sorting out kind of test drive in May. I'd like to see it drive under its own power in May. The driveline is all in place, clutch is in place. The only thing that is hanging me up on the clutch is the location of the hose is going to be dependent on the final position of the header. The header comes very close to the line, and I don't like it. So I'm going to wait till the header's in place and then see if I can snake the line around a different direction. But I want to do things in a particular order here. I want to show you guys this because this is the kind of stuff that you don't really see in catalogs, and not a lot of people have the opportunity to have this for references. But I want to show you that this is a two-wheel drive V6 pickup truck slave cylinder for a clutch, and this is a four-wheel drive slave cylinder here. The difference really, the bolt pattern is exactly the same. They both have, because those trucks have the same bell housing, so the bolt patterns are the same. They'll bolt up to each other, and the housings look almost exactly identical, with the exception of the four-wheel drive's using a banjo bolt fitting for the hose coming out at an angle, where the two-wheel drive is using a line nut style fitting that comes straight out the side. From the pictures that I've seen on Rock Auto, it looks like both of these are threaded to do both. So this actually does have grooves where the banjo bolt washers can sit, and this one's got that as well, but it also, both of them are threaded for line nuts. So I'm starting to believe that they both use the same slave cylinder, which is nice because in this circumstance, with it being a banjo bolt fitting with a crimped fitting here, I am kind of limited on my orientation of the hose. I really don't have the ability to even do anything with this in terms of being able to move it if I have to. Switching to a line nut style fitting and going to a regular brake hose style setup allows me to be able to run a hard line into this, plumb the hard line up a little further, and then switch to a rubber hose maybe further up on the firewall, as long as this has got some flexibility to it to compensate for engine and transmission movement against the cab and the frame itself. It doesn't really matter where exactly the rubber hose is placed. It's just as long as the rubber hose is there. It's the same thing with this. But the problem is that I don't think any hydraulic shops are going to be sitting around with this type of fitting sitting on the shelf, where I can just take a hard line, some like Cupro nickel hose, make a line nut on this thing, bring it up, and then actually have just a generic female hose made with that particular thread and fitting, and have it somewhere somewhere where there's going to be some flexibility. That allows me to run these hoses away from the header so I don't cook the fluid or melt the hose or whatnot. So this is something I have to ponder. I do have a brand new slave cylinder sitting underneath this thing right now. It is actually hooked up. It's not plumbed, but it's actually bolted to the transmission right now. It's exactly this style right here. I actually have a brand new hose that I ordered too, which if I had an extra inch on that hose, it probably would have solved my problem, but they make them all the same length and it just seems like it's a little short. But I have to wait to see what the final outcome is going to be with the header. I can install the header at any time. I just have to, I also have another problem that's going to hold me up from tightening the header down. I have the wrong starter in this truck right now. The 3.0 and the 3.3 use two different starters. The 3.0 has different teeth count. Well, both of them have different teeth count. So if I try and start this thing with the starter that's currently in it, I'm going to have a bad time, especially with how much fun it was to try and find the correct flywheel for this thing. It's just not going to be any fun. So I don't want to ruin it. I'm going to drop the starter down before I put the header in. I think I have the right starter in my pile of parts because I did take down that 3.3 that was in the gold Pathfinder. And I do believe I saved that starter, so I just got to go through my bin box tomorrow or sometime this week and see what I got. Swap them out, and then I can put the header back in, bolt that all down, done. I don't have to worry about it. Then I can move on to the slave cylinder. But ever so slowly, every step I make is a little bit closer to getting to where we need to be. And I am absolutely, completely, and totally excited right now. So let me just do a quick walk back so you can see the whole thing as it sits right now. And let me know what you guys think in the comments. I really appreciate all the subscribers and everything. I will keep everything moving forward as best I can. I'm having dreams about this thing. I've been dreaming about driving it. I've been dreaming about hearing the supercharger whine up. I've been watching other videos on YouTube, listening to these trucks go down the road, and I'm excited. And hopefully what I've done so far has been very helpful to anybody who's really even contemplating doing any of this. I said I'm not over the hump yet. Each stage brings more and more challenges, but so far we've really done what we can to kind of get past them. So like, share, and subscribe. Send me some love. Check out my Instagram, which is rainmaker_D21. And I want to thank everyone for holding out while I took my time to get the next video up, and the next one will be coming soon. Thank you. Take care now. See ya.